Welcome to today's program. We are going to start our lifestyle journey in the enchanting Sologne region between Paris and the Loire Valley. Behind me you can see the wonderful Château Les Berthiers, the private residence of the Léonard family. This name should be familiar to you because Léonard is a well-known name in haute couture and perfumes, and we were lucky enough to be able to visit Monsieur Léonard at his private home.
The heavy iron doors have opened for us, and we're on our way to meet Jacques Léonard. We start our visit by enjoying the long drive up to the house, past fertile cornfields, streams, and an enormous park. After a good quarter of an hour, we approach the magnificent residence that Jacques Léonard modestly referred to as his country house. Les Berthiers, with its numerous turrets, looks more like something out of a fairy tale. Jacques Léonard, the legendary creator of printed fabrics, lives here, enjoying country life with his family, away from the Paris hustle and bustle. Private life for me basically means family life, and a good life for me is a simple life. I have my family and feel very happy in my house, and that's the main thing. The whole house is decorated with opulent flower arrangements. Yet it's the master, and not the mistress of the house, that's responsible for them.
It's easy to see that you love flowers in your home, but they also played an important role in your fashion, decorating your dresses, scarves, and even ties. Did something trigger these flower motifs?
I believe that there are two things that are an important part of life. That's the sun and the flowers, and it's difficult to divide the two. Were there no sun, there'd be no flowers.
I knew your name even as a child. My grandparents and parents knew you as the flower man because you were the first one to print on fabrics and textiles. With flowers, of course. Could you tell us a little bit more about your life and work?
Yeah, the company was set up back in 1943, and to begin with we produced exclusively wool and silk fabrics for French haute couture, and later a deluxe off-the-peg line.
Ça a continué ensuite par le prêt-à-porter de luxe.
Our printed pullovers were the real hit. They were a creation made by our company, and the way they came about was quite a story in itself, since at the time printing on fabrics was almost impossible. But I wanted to get there whatever it took. I remember we had a partner in Lyon, Monsieur Garnons, and he came back from the Silk Town and said, "Well, I've been round everybody and they all said it's impossible to do what you want." And I said to him, "Well, there you are. That's precisely why we should do it." It may look kitsch-like to some people, but for others at the time it was the latest thing if you really wanted to be in, fashion-wise. Flower messages and Léonard's poetic interpretation were well received, and some of the world's best-dressed women were wearing the flowing silk dresses and scarves from Paris.
You even used to put big flower prints on ties. What was the reaction?
Oh, it's now been 20 years since the first ties came out with our flower patterns. We actually found the reaction rather surprising. Now, naturally, such things are always a question of taste, but shortly afterwards, our idea with printed fabrics was being copied everywhere, which proved it was popular and made us famous. Since his son doesn't want to follow in his father's footsteps, Jacques Léonard has sold his fashion empire to Daniel Trébouillard, a former employee who successfully carried on the management of the textile company and has added his own new ideas. Jacques doesn't feel like retiring, however. Barely 80, he feels too young and active. He remains heart and soul a businessman, only allowing himself a little leisure at the weekend to go hunting or to drive around his rolling estate. Jacques Léonard works with his son, focusing his attention on the company's range of perfumes which are sold worldwide. Like all large couturiers, he soon recognized the trend and set up a branch of the business to make high-class perfumes. There's no doubt that he had a nose for it, since today he can afford any luxury he desires. The best example is perhaps his penthouse with its own roof garden that he had dug out. Not an easy job to put down a spacious garden with trees, streams, lawns and numerous flower beds, and right in the center of Paris. The penthouse itself is a feast for the eyes, furnished with exquisite antiques, precious silver and porcelain. Like her husband, Madame Léonard also has an excellent sense for the finer things of life. Despite their high standard of living, the family members have kept their feet firmly on the ground. They were obliged to go without on many occasions over the years and had to work extremely hard to get where they are today. We've worked 55 years to be successful, and they were hard years. It's no secret, though. Everybody knows that you can only be successful if you work hard. No pain, no gain. Now many years have gone by and my son has now taken over at the helm. My son is the director of Parfum Léonard, a company we set up in 1968. Our trademark, the flower, has been kept for our perfumes, as for example Tamango.
Perfume has an important role in your life, not just your own, but also the ones you collect, especially those in precious perfume bottles. And looking around, there seem to be quite a few here which belong to your competitors.
Yeah, but they're very interesting and beautiful. Some of the perfume bottles in my collection are very old. Some are brands that are no longer produced, and I'm actually a passionate collector. Now, one day I was flicking through a specialist magazine and discovered some bottles that I'd never even seen before, and that's what got me into collecting.
Je me suis aperçu qu'il existait des ventes aux enchères, notamment à Drouot à Paris, de flacons anciens, comme celui-ci par exemple.
Here, for example, is a bottle from Lalique. There are actually some really gorgeous pieces. Look at this Rose d'Orsay scent bottle. It's incredible work. And today one couldn't manufacture anything like that. It's far too expensive, and it'd be unprofitable for the retail trade.
Your parents possessed this beautiful home and you spent your childhood here. What do you remember about it? Is there anything that sticks out in your mind?
Yes, interestingly enough, I can also still remember the original farmhouse very well. And when I was small, I always wanted to be a farmer. My mother had inherited the land with a game reserve, and my father later bought additional land. Then he built a house, extended it, and finally pulled it down again because he didn't actually like it. This dream house was then built with its own pool and tennis court. I feel like I'm in paradise when I'm here.
Avec la piscine, avec un tennis, avec c'est un paradis ici.
Why didn't you want to take over your father's business?
Well, actually, perfume's always been my passion. and although I've worked with tech stars, I could never really get enthusiastic about them. And later, when my father was deciding whether to continue with his business, I opted for our perfume division because I couldn't see myself producing dresses. So, in fact, I made my hobby into my profession and became a perfumer.
Je ne me voyais pas faire des robes, j'étais trop impliqué dans la parfumerie. Et en fait, j'étais devenu parfumeur, en fait.
Have you ever thought about designing your own scent bottles?
Yes, I'd like to do that, but I can't actually draw, and there are other people who can do that much better than me. One name in particular springs to mind, and that's Serge Mansau, who designed our line and has become world famous with his own creations. Whether polished like a diamond or with strict classical lines or playful forms such as the enchanting flowers of the Belle Époque, picking up a bottle of perfume has been a visual pleasure for a long time. The design of the perfume bottle is intended to reflect the spirit of the product, and nobody knows how to do this better than Serge Mansau from Paris, the best in this area. Today's holy water, its chalice, the fancy bottle. The creator of these precious recipients is Serge Mansau. Although he's designed over 120 perfume bottles, he's still searching for the perfect masterpiece.
Chaque flacon a une histoire. D'ailleurs,
each bottle has its own particular story, but there still hasn't been what I'd call a super creation. It's like Saint-Exupéry's story about the Little Prince. And when he wanted a sheep, he got a box and had to imagine the sheep was in the box. If each bottle has its own story, then there must be a lot of stories around. Some are as legendary as the perfumers they're about. When I met Montana, I asked him, what significance does perfume have for you? He told me there was like a river for him, and then he made this gesture. A bottle for Montana's perfume was developed from this gesture. A lot of time is needed to achieve an inspired result. The beginning is often a simple sketch. This sketch is then transferred to a material which can be easily processed, and then he improvises with the individual components. A prototype is then molded until the master craftsman is happy with the result. It's only then that one really has a prototype with which you can really imagine the finished product. And this is a kind of victory column by Serge Mansau on which the more than 120 bottles created since 1969 have been immortalized. I've created a kind of parking space for all my bottles, and a new section is regularly added to the top, and I pile the bottles up one on top of the other. I'd like to transfer everything that I design in the world of perfumes to other artistic areas. The designer's artistic qualities are obvious, his productivity astonishing. Naturally, it's not possible for one man alone to put so many creative ideas into effect. This needs highly skilled employees who have also the touch of genius needed to create this kind of bottle. When you look into the bottle and then turn it around, it's like a small To Dolce Vita won the perfume Oscar. Serge wishes to repeat this success with a new perfume for Givenchy. This resulted in another masterpiece. Here's a look behind the scenes and a few excerpts from the making of. It was fantastic working with my customers' team. Mansau works up to 9 months on a project with his staff. He regards this as the ideal period for achieving something worthwhile. The effort is amply rewarded. Some of the most famous scents have been appropriately clothed by Mansau and begun on their victory path around the globe in one of his bottles.
When talking about the art of glass, this name automatically comes up. René Lalique was the inspired creator of satin-finished crystal glass, which has remained the trademark of the company till today. In the present generation, there is now a woman at the head of the company. We wanted to learn more about her and visited Marie-Claude Lalique in Paris and in her enchanting country home in the Provence.
It was with the filigree art of shimmering fantasy in precious ivory and high-carat diamonds that René Lalique, the eccentric creator of Art Nouveau jewellery, started his career back in 1886. The geometric lines of his satin-finished plants and animal ornaments make Lalique's Art Deco style unmistakable to this day. René died in 1945, but the tradition lives on. The third stage of Lalique's glorious history began with a pigeon, the favourite motif of René's talented granddaughter, Marie-Claude. Marie-Claude, who lives in Provence, stepped into her father's footsteps and is now causing sensations with her own crystal creations. Madame Lalique loves the charmante petites choses, the small, charming ornaments that adorn her home in Avignon. Animal figures, vases and precious perfume bottles. Glass has long been a thing of the past for Marie-Claude. Coloured, shimmering crystal is the pet innovation of this committed entrepreneur, the president and creative head of Lalique.
I'm the third generation of the family. My grandfather founded the company, my father took it over, and I'm now managing it.
Can you still remember your grandfather?
Yes, but unfortunately not very well. I was still very young when he died. He was always just my grandfather and less the great artist. But there are some things that I can remember very well. My childhood is still very clear. I visited him on Sundays to chat to him. I wanted to speak to him and brought my sketches with me in order to hear his opinion. But he spoke very little. But everybody in the family knew that he didn't like talking too much. I've always regretted the fact that he had stopped working when I knew him, and that's why I first discovered the grandfather, and then much later the genius Lalique. One day I picked up one of his pieces of jewellery and I thought, my God, this is wonderful. It was a shock for me. And it was only then that I gradually began to learn more about his art. I have to say he had an extraordinary career and an enormous talent.
Do you still follow to your grandfather's ideas?
No, not at all. I've taken inspiration from his work because I like it very much, but I don't try to identify with him in my work. We definitely have some things in common, because sometimes when I compare my sketches with his, I find similar forms and lines, but times have changed. I use neither gold nor precious stones and also no glass, because I work exclusively with crystal. With coloured crystal, a new development which nobody believed in when my grandfather was alive. Yet, in the meantime, it's become very popular because my objects are colourful and beautiful. And, well, let's say simply charming to look at.
Like your jewellery, for example.
Yes, exactly. Jewellery is very important to me. I love wearing and making jewellery. And you do a good job when doing things you personally like. So just a short time ago I designed this collection, which, as you can see, is very colourful and many women are very eager to buy it, which is naturally very satisfying.
As far as I know, your production site is not in Paris.
Yes, the factory's in Alsace. Well, glass blowing and crystal production are an old tradition in Alsace and dating back from the 16th century. People worked with glass because the raw materials were readily available in this area. Such simple things like sand and fern and using wood to heat the oven. And since glass blowing is a traditional profession which gets passed on from generation to generation, the people in Alsace are really very skilled at it.
Marie-Claude has 600 employees, all devoted to the Lalique tradition. Here, crystal elements are coated with a protective layer. The remaining surfaces are then covered in acid. And therein lies the secret, the subtle game with transparency and satin finish crystal, making it appear as though it were wrapped in silk. It was the general view during the 19th century that a person who did not own any Lalique lacked culture. The Russian Tsars and the European royal families bought the fragile blown ornaments from the famous René. Today, they're ordered from his granddaughter, Marie-Claude. Her Provençal farmhouse is her artistic haven, and she often retreats here because she likes to get away for a bit from Parisian high society.
I searched for this house for a long time because it's difficult to find something that you really like. And it was love at first sight. It was so small and simple, and I just knew that I could do something with it. Give it a soul, decorate it, and live happily here. And, well, I do so.
You also have an elegant apartment in Paris.
Oh yes, I still have it, and I love the apartment, because it houses all the mementos that I have of my grandfather. For example, old heirlooms, which I've been collecting for years now. But, well, they're there and you'll see them.
This grandiose crystal table is without doubt one of Marie-Claude's masterpieces. It crowns her apartment in the centre of Paris, an apartment which has quite a different character from that of a snug country hideaway in Provence. Here, Marie-Claude, who's actually rather reserved, carries out her social duties. together with her husband, a Parisian notary. Naturally, they dine at this table, a copy of which would cost a small fortune at the shop. Nathalie is more interested in what is put on it, something small and charming, either as an ornament or a present. After all, it's just such charmant petites choses which are guaranteed to charm the lucky recipients with their sparkle.